Today I just want to go over more of a tutorial than a question and answer. Um, and today I just want to remind people of how powerful our Transaction Plus user-defined report is. This is a report I use quite often when trying to find errors, trying to find entries, um, trying to provide insight for people who need to make decisions. It's just a very powerful report, and I just kind of wanted to remind everybody what all it can do. So we're going to user find report on a report menu. And then I'm just going to run this for an older data set. So let's do 2011 because I know there's data there. And just from this screen here alone, you can narrow down your report by date, obviously, ledger account, center and division ranges, vendors or descriptions or even entry types. And then we have several recap options here. By ledger, center, division, description, vendor, and group or project for feeding or crops. These are all very helpful. And then over here, you also have a couple different options. So this report will automatically show you both sides of an entry, which can help you find if you accidentally put an entry to the wrong checking account or something like that. You can also choose to exclude the offsetting bank account. So I'll show you that both ways so you can kind of see the difference there, and we'll start with that. So right away we see that there is 2 lines for every entry. So like for entry 1183, there's 2 sides of it. The side to the bank account, which is account 10, and the side to my expense account, which is 700 for fertilizer. This report also shows errors. So like this one, you can see we have this not used under center description, which means that at some point in time, center 1011 was deleted, as was 2011 and 40 and so on and so forth. So we're missing some centers there, and it's just telling us that. So these ones with errors are in every other report are orphaned, or means that they won't show up correctly. If I was running a report, an income expense report, um, income statement, then this expense for fertilizer would not show up because that's orphaned and it doesn't know where to put it. So you can come here and you can correct issues as well from this report. But what I'm showing you right now is that it's two-sided. We have, like I said, both the asset side and the expense side. From here, it is also nice to have the recap option that I talked about. We started with recap by ledger account, and you can see that right here in the top right-hand corner. I can click over here, and I have my recap by my ledger accounts. My income's at top, my expenses are at the bottom part here. I could choose to toggle my type of recap to either center or division or vendor, description, or any of those. So once I pick which one I want, like this right now, it says recap by vendor but not current. I click on recap and it's going to recap me now by my vendors. I'll go ahead and close this report really quickly and show you what it looks like without that secondary line for the bank account. And it just kind of cleans up the report a little bit if you use that option. You still have all the other options of recapping. It just kind of cleans up the report to 1 line per entry, just showing you the income, expense, anything but the bank account line. And this makes it a more concise report if you're not looking for an error within the bank account. And so here we can see we only have 1 line for each entry instead of 2. We just have the fertilizer line on 1183 instead of the bank account line. Some other options, I mentioned we have those errors that showed up on that report. If you want to look just for your errors, you could definitely do that with this report. Another great feature of this report. And to do that, I just check this button up here for undefined entries. For this one, I will uncheck the box for exclude offsetting bank account because I want to look at for entries and everywhere within the entries. And then this will give me a list of all my errors. We know we have errors here, so we can see all these errors. So I currently have down here, if you look here, it says line total 93. So I actually have 93 errors in this data set, and some of them could be repeatable. You can see the same centers are definitely missing multiple times here. And how I would fix it if I had this issue, this data set I have purposely have an error in it for tutorial purposes. So I'm not going to fix them all right now, but I could fix one of them. What I would do here is it says 40 is not used, which means it used to be there, but it's not there anymore. So I would come up here to my setup, cost profit centers, and I would just add in center 40. If you knew what the description was on it before, that would be great. If you don't, you can just put in adding center back 40 back in. I think this was cattle. So I'm just going to put 40 cattle. And then we're going to save our centers. Close report and rerun it and just see if that clears the reports or the errors. Because of the reindexing, sometimes that refresh doesn't work and we have to just rerun the whole thing. Okay, you can see all of my ones for 40 disappeared because they were able to find that now to that 40 center. So if this was a live data set, I'd go through and I'd add back in those other centers as well and get those back and being not orphans. A couple other things I want to point out about this report quickly. It can do a lot, so I'm just showing you the very, very basics here. Sometimes it's really nice to do this recap by entry. And here you can see now every entry. We have our 2-line entry here back to this 1183 example, and then it tells you your balance. So this would tell you really quickly if your entry is out of balance. It would be in red instead of blue and say 0. It would have a different value there and be in red. So this is what we want to see, but this kind of separates each entry if you're trying to find, makes it a little more readable, I think. If you're trying to find entries in here is to recap by that entry. Another thing I didn't mention here, but this with scanner interface, this report will allow you to see if you have anything scanned and attached, and that's over here in the scan column. If it said yes, you could click on that yes and go right to the image that you had attached to the entry instead of having to go the longer way around. You could quickly get to the scanned image and see it. These columns do move around, so you can move these over here so you can get more in or on the left hand side so it's easier to find it and read it. But you do see a lot of other information over here to the left as well. So you can move these around to what's pertinent to what you're trying to look at. But we do have debit and credit amounts. It does tell us this entry type here. Further over here, we do have a bank. This is kind of nice too. It tells you what day you actually made the entry. You have the date if anybody updated it. And if you run our high security and have usernames and passwords, it will also tell you who entered it. And then who updated it as well. So there's just some great options over here on the right hand side of the user defined report that we sometimes don't even see. But like I said, I like to move sometimes it's scanned over here and you can have it quickly next to your entry and see if it's something is scanned to bring up the entry quickly. Lots of powerful things in this user defined report. If you're not using it, I recommend getting comfortable with it, giving it a try. Thanks.